What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today I have my Atlanta Falcons season preview, so let's get into it. And last year they finished with a record of 7-10, which they obviously missed the playoffs, and that record was good enough for last in the NFC South. But the NFC South was definitely an interesting division as nobody in it finished above 500. Tampa Bay won the division and they were 8-9, and all three other teams in the division, so Carolina, Atlanta, and New Orleans, all finished with a 7-10 record. So even though they finished last, they also kind of finished second, if that makes it any better for you Atlanta Falcons fans, which they did end up getting a pretty good draft pick. But before we get into the draft pick, they did sign a lot of decent, good free agents to take this team to the next level, starting off with quarterback Taylor Heineke. Whether or not Desmond Ridder gets the starting job for them all depends on how he performs in camp versus Taylor Heineke, the veteran quarterback who has shown that he can lead a team to the playoffs and compete in the playoffs as he did with Washington. They also signed safety Jesse Bates out of Cincinnati. Well, not out of Cincinnati, he came from Cincinnati, but you know what I mean. Probably the premier safety of this free agency this past offseason. So definitely good signing right there on the defensive side of the ball. And they got cornerback Mike Hughes, who he's definitely a decent cornerback in this league. So I have no problems with that signing. They got defensive end Calais Campbell, another guy that can definitely make an impact on that defense. They got wide receiver Scott Miller, just kind of a depth guy. I know they got Drake London, Kyle Pitts as, the one and two main receiving targets. They also got outside linebacker Bud Dupree, cornerback Trey Flowers, linebacker Caden Ellis, defensive tackle David Onyemata. So they spent a lot of money in this free agency period on a lot of quality guys that I do think will help this team in the long run. And like I said earlier, with the division kind of just letting down last year, this division is really anybody's to win. Any one of these teams can definitely step up and win this division next year. So I definitely think it'll be a fun division to watch and see what happens with. And they also did make a couple trades. They brought in tight end Jonnu Smith and cornerback Jeff Okuda. So both of those guys, not top tier players at their position, but at the same time, they're still quality players that can help this team win. And they didn't really lose compared to the guys that they signed. The guys that they lost definitely aren't the same level. Like, yeah, they lost quarterback Marcus Mariota, but they brought in Taylor Heineke, two guys that have a very similar skill set. So the loss of Mariota and the signing of Heineke pretty much, in my opinion, just balances out, cancels out. They lost wide receiver Olamide Zacchaeus. I think that's how you say his name. Either way, they brought in wide receiver Scott Miller. Pretty similar player, pretty similar playing style, in my opinion. So those just kind of cancel out. They lost cornerback special teamer Mike Ford. They brought in cornerback Mike Hughes. Pretty much cancels out. They lost cornerback Rashard Fenton. Once again, they brought in cornerback Trey Flowers. It kind of cancels out, and they lost tight end Anthony Ferkser, but they traded for Jonnu Smith, so they pretty much cancel out. So everything they kind of lost, they definitely re-signed, or they didn't go out and re-sign. They definitely brought in. They spent the money to replace those guys with guys of equal or better talent. So that's just an A plus in my books. And they definitely re-signed a lot of good guys too, like linebacker Lorenzo Carter, offensive guard Christian Lindstrom, offensive tackle Caleb McGarry, punter Bradley Pinion. I know Pinion doesn't really count because punters are like a dime a dozen in my opinion, but that doesn't really matter. But they did make some good re-signs on that offensive line because you got to have a solid foundation of an offensive line to be successful in the NFL. So definitely they spent money wisely in free agency, brought in a lot of big names, spent their money in house on a lot of good re-signs, and there wasn't a lot of turnover on the coaching staff. And they do have a new defensive coordinator in Ryan Nielsen, so I don't know how much his scheme is going to change things. But when you got the same head coach, it's a big deal. You got the same offensive coordinator, so there's not too many things moving around that they have to worry about. A new defensive scheme, they got a lot of talent on the defense, so I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. And their 2023 rookie class, they didn't have a lot of draft picks, but they made a lot of good draft picks. First, in the first round, they got running back Bijan Robinson, the best running back in this draft. So he'll definitely be a fun addition to this offense. Give him that little pop, the star power running back. They got Matthew Bergeron, another offensive guard, to bolster that offensive line. I think another really good pick. They got defensive end Zach Harrison out of Ohio State, another good pick. Then they got Clark Phillips III, safety DeMarco Helms, and offensive guard Jovan Gwynn. So they definitely had a solid draft class. I do think a decent amount of these rookies can contribute, whether it be Bijan Robinson on the starting offense or whether it be Bergeron who has to get put in on the line or Zach Harrison on special teams. I think they do have a good draft class that will help them win games here this upcoming season. All right, so moving on now, we have their schedule and my record prediction for this team. And these first three games over here will be the preseason, so I'll just like scribble that out because preseason doesn't really matter. You just use it to see prospects and stuff. So week one, they got the Carolina Panthers, and honestly, the Panthers, I feel like they could be a good team later on. I know they got a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young, but I do think Atlanta is a better team and will start this season off with a W. Then in week two, they play the Green Bay Packers, and the Green Bay Packers have already came out and said that Love, they're giving him about half the season to see like what he's really made of. And I don't know, I'm not sold on him yet. Could he come out and just be the next great Green Bay quarterback? Yeah, sure, maybe. But I don't know that. And as of right now, he's done nothing to prove to, the world that he can be. So I do think Atlanta gets the benefit of the doubt, and I think they can beat Green Bay. So they start the season off hot, winning two straight, and then they go on the road to Detroit. And I got high hopes for Detroit this year. I'm not going to lie. So I definitely think this will be an L. And then in week four, they go to England to play the Jaguars. And I do think the Jaguars are another team that's going to be really good this year. So I think this will also be an L for them. But it's okay because once they come back to the States, they got the Houston Texans, which also have a new rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud. So I definitely think Atlanta will be able to get a nice rebound win right there. And then they got Washington the following week, which I also think Atlanta will be a better team than Washington. So I don't think that's too bad of a start. They're being 4-2. Then they got the Buccaneers. So their second division game of the year, and it's in Tampa Bay. Buccaneers, their quarterbacks are either going to be like Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, both of which aren't the greatest. And I do think Atlanta will be able to beat the Buccaneers. And then they go on the road to face the Titans, which I think they will lose this game. And then they play the Vikings, which I also think will be another loss after that. But right before their bye week, which is in week 11, it goes right here, but it's not on this schedule. But yeah, their bye week is week 11 right here. But right before their bye week, they play the Arizona Cardinals, which I feel will definitely be a win for the team. Then they play the New Orleans Saints, their first of two matchups, and I do think they can beat the Saints. Depending on how Derek Carr plays for the Saints, this game could go either way, but I definitely think this might be like a season split with them, if not Atlanta taking both games. And then they play the Jets, and I don't know how Aaron Rodgers is going to do with the Jets. I know he just took that pay cut and stuff so they could bring more people in to help improve their chances of a Super Bowl. But I'm not sold on the Jets yet. Depending on how well Atlanta is at this point, this game really could go either way. But regardless, whether it be Desmond Ritter at quarterback or Taylor Heineke at quarterback, the Jets do have the quarterback advantage in Aaron Rodgers regardless. So I'll throw an L right there for the Jets game. But then they play the Buccaneers again, which I do think they will sweep the Buccaneers this year, as well as sweeping the Carolina Panthers. I just feel the Carolina Panthers are a super young team. They got a rookie quarterback. They will have, their highs and their lows. But divisional games are always tough regardless of how good a team is. And I just think Atlanta is just that much better than the Panthers that they shouldn't have issue getting the season sweep. And then they got the Colts, which another rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson, which I feel like this will be another win for them. Then they have the Chicago Bears, which I definitely they're an interesting team because I know a lot of people are high on Justin Fields. I'm personally not, but I think that they can. I'm going to give Atlanta the benefit of the doubt. I think they have a better defense, a lot more star power all around the ball than Chicago does. So I'll give them that win. And like I said before, I think they'll probably split with the Saints. So I'll give them the L right there. So they finish the season with what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wins. Okay. So 11 wins. I'll write 11 wins right here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses. So this is actually 11-6. That's a little bit high than what I thought. Obviously, they're probably not gonna have this record. They'll probably win games that I thought they were gonna lose, and they might lose games that I thought they were gonna win. So I think anywhere between like 9-8 and probably 11-6 is probably their ceiling for this upcoming year. But I don't think this is too far out of the picture. If this team plays well, if they mesh well, they play good defense, play good offense, I definitely think this record is achievable, like without a doubt. Will they make it to this record? Probably not. Is 9-8 maybe 10-7 a better record prediction for them? Maybe, but I don't think this is too far out of the realm of possibilities for this team. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think they can be 11-6? Do you think they could be better than 11-6, or do you think they're just gonna have another down year, finish below 500 towards the bottom of the division? Either way, I think 7-10 is probably their floor again, with 11-6, maybe 12-5 being their ceiling. But let me know what you guys all think. Subscribe, wait for your favorite teams video to come out, and yeah, have a good one. God bless.